am more than breast cancer.
I am more than gastric cancer.
I am more than Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 3.
I am more than Lynch syndrome.
I am more than metastatic male breast cancer.
I'm more than PMDD.
I am more than diabetes.
I am more than lupus.
I am more than FAP.
Welcome to More Than a Diagnosis. I'm Den.
And I'm Jess. This podcast is about so much more than cancer, chronic illness, or the labels we've been given. It's about reclaiming our lives, finding community, and thriving in ways we never thought possible.
Whether you're a patient, a caregiver, or just someone curious about what it means to live beyond a diagnosis, we're so glad you're here.
You know what I feel like doesn't get talked about quite enough? It's not so much the moment of your diagnosis, and it's not necessarily the beginning of treatment. I think it's these quiet moments that come later on when you have this realization that maybe this isn't a temporary thing.
Yeah, it's that moment you stop asking yourself, when will this end? And you start asking yourself, how do I live inside this body now?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. For me, this realization came after cancer when I hit survivorship, and it didn't look like going back to who I was before, because my body did not return to normal the way that I wish it would have.
Yeah. And for me, it's something that I've been living with for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
And navigating chronic illness, the uncertainty that comes along with it, and learning how to pace a life that doesn't follow the straight line you were used to anymore.
The pacing, I feel like that's like the key word there. But there's also a lot of grief, and there's a lot of resistance, and eventually acceptance. But I feel like there also needs to be a whole lot of gentleness that is bestowed upon ourselves in order to kind of get through the waves, because it's not a phase. I feel it comes more in waves than anything else.
Yeah, and it's not about giving up. I feel it's about learning how to live and how to live honestly when your body has changed the rules on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think we get to this point where we realize, okay, this is my life now. And I think that sometimes, and I feel like you can speak to this, when you live with a chronic condition, and especially in your case, a genetic condition, you have come to a place of acceptance in saying, this is my reality for as long as I'm alive. And sometimes people don't like to hear that because they think that you're being negative, and that you're like, well, fine, I guess I'm just going to be sick forever.
Yeah. Someone actually once said, don't say that. And my response was, huh? But it's the truth. I'm stuck with it for as long as I'm alive because it's in my genes. And, well, we can't, change those around right now.
Yeah, totally.
So, yep, it's here to stay.
Yeah.
And I want to stay alive, so yep.
Yep. And I think in my case, going through cancer treatments, we've talked about this a lot, and not to beat a dead horse, but it's going to keep coming up. When you're a cancer survivor and treatment is over, if you're not living with stage 4 cancer, there is this narrative that's like, oh, you're finished with treatment. Now you're all better, right? Now things are good, right?
Not exactly. Yeah.
And that doesn't happen that way for all of us, because like in my case, unfortunately, cancer treatments have left me with chronic health issues. And that is heavy sometimes.
Right, because I feel in your case, it wasn't what you expected.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you knew you weren't going to be the same.
Yes, exactly.
But I don't think you realized what your potentially new normal could look like.
No. And up until probably a few months ago, I was so focused on trying to figure out what was going on with my body that it hadn't really sunk in that, wow, okay, I've been living with these health issues for the last 2 years. From all the research I've done and all the reading I've done, if I'm still having these issues at year 2 post-treatment, at this point, it's considered chronic. And so having to get to that place of acceptance and finally being able to say, okay, I know my life wasn't going to go back to normal. I really didn't think it would look like this, though. And now here we are having to accept a new reality.
Yeah, and it's a little tricky because it's chronic, it's long lasting. So it's not necessarily appropriate to say, I hope you feel better soon. Because, that's not necessarily gonna happen the way people think it's going to happen.
Yes.
It's learning how to live with all the things that aren't going away, not because you're being negative, but it's your reality.
Yes.
And it's more about literally like surviving with all of that. Not necessarily, okay, one day I'm going to be A-okay, because that's not what it's going to happen. That's just...
Unfortunately not. Oh, man. When you said that, it's just like everything in me feels like it just like shrivels up. Because when I think of somebody saying, I hope you feel better, I know they mean well, and I know that it's from such a loving place.
Yes.
And on a good day, I can see that and accept. I know that they want me to feel better, and that's so nice. And on a bad day, I'm like, yeah, well, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's so true. So true. And, it's so heavy because there are so many different emotions that come along with chronic illness. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
Like grief, for example. I've been living with chronic illness for years, and to be completely honest, I'm not done grieving.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's a cycle.
Absolutely.
You go through a roller coaster of emotions when you're living with chronic illness, and
yes,
grief is certainly a really big one.
Yeah.
That happens to make an appearance here and now.
I actually just saw a video yesterday of someone talking about grief. And in the context, he was talking about losing his mother. And so it completely different context. But I think that the heart of what he was saying applies in any form of grief, and that grief doesn't end. There's no timeline on grief. Grief doesn't have an end date ever. You're going to continue to grieve for as long as you're alive. But like you said, it comes in waves and it comes in different ways. And for me, it was not that long ago, after going through all these doctor's appointments and trying to get a diagnosis and getting to the place where they're like, okay, well, we just need to get you to a better quality of life. And that means stop chasing a diagnosis right at this moment. And there was so much grief that came with that, because that's a different level of acceptance that I was not prepared for. And also that, to be quite frank, I didn't want to accept.
Yeah. I mean, how would you want to? You had expectations to a certain degree of what your life would look like. And that's not the case. And it's a lot to process. So I really do think it's important that we be really gentle with ourselves, because, you're in for the long run. And yes, hopefully, as time progresses, you get even more solid answers. And who knows, maybe they'll be able to get a good hold on what's going on.
Yeah.
But until then, you're kind of navigating this weird space
Yeah.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think it's really, really important that we are gentle with ourselves,
Yeah.
especially when those moments of grief hit, because it's really easy to make yourself the punching bag when you're grieving. That life that
Mm-hmm.
you thought you would have,
Mm-hmm.
and it's nothing close to what you imagined,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I think, like you said, there's these moments of grief that pop up when maybe we least expect it, and we're not in a place where we want to feel that grief, but we
Yeah.
need to. I think that as a cancer survivor, there's a lot of grief that comes with just a cancer diagnosis.
Hmm.
And then when you are a cancer survivor who then is left with long-term chronic health issues, because that is the reality of so many people that,
Hmm.
I feel it doesn't get talked about enough. It kind of gets brushed under the rug a bit, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who are living with debilitating neuropathy or long-term chronic fatigue, or they're on some type of medication because of cancer treatments.
Yeah.
And I think that that's not what you go into cancer thinking, that you're going to come out the other side with long-term health issues.
No, especially when your journey's already been rough. You've already grieved losing your hair, grieved side
Mm-hmm.
effects, grieved how, your body has taken this humongous hit with treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So you're grieving so many different things, and then it's almost like, you're walking around with a full plate and oh,
Yeah.
there's the cherry on top,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have to say though, as I have been walking down this road of chronic illness, and I've learned a lot from you about what acceptance actually looks like. But I'm seeing the after parts. I wasn't with you when you got your diagnosis, and I didn't get to see those beginning parts. And so I would love for you to just share a little bit about what that process of acceptance actually looked like for you after getting the chronic illness diagnosis.
well, in my case, it's, I think, a little different than most people because prior to my diagnosis, I had suffered, trauma at work and I was struggling with all of that.
Mm,
So mentally, my mental health was in a really bad place.
yeah.
And the diagnosis, it it just shattered my world.
Mm,
That's just
yeah.
what it is. And it was heavy. It was so much. It felt like I felt so much overwhelm and I didn't know where to begin.
Yeah. I can
I was
imagine.
struggling. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was stuck at home because I didn't want to leave my house. I was
Mm-hmm.
afraid to leave. And then you get hit with, oh, you have a tumor.
Mm,
The very first thought was, oh, well, my dad had cancer. Does that mean I
yeah.
have it too? Because,
Yeah.
that's also part of cancer hitting your family.
Yep.
So, which I don't think I've ever even really spoken about, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of that, in our family. And
Yeah.
so it was only reasonable, logical for me to think, oh dear, could this
Mm-hmm.
be? Yeah, it could.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, well, let's wait and see.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of waiting and seeing, and I was hopeful, but I was not prepared for what I was going to hear.
Yeah.
Never, ever in my wildest dreams or nightmare, did I think it was going to be genetic and chronic and life-changing to the way and degree it has been.
Yeah.
And, it took a lot to process. And, there are days where I'm still processing.
Yeah.
That's how much it has flipped my world upside down. And that I'm still, working on my mental health. Because there are days that it's a lot,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so after the diagnosis and then finding out what I had to do, which was remove my colon in order to stay alive, which made me really angry because I just got hit with this diagnosis.
Yeah.
And now here I'm thinking, okay, you'll remove the tumor and I'll be good to go. I kid
Yeah.
you not. Even if I
Yeah.
said to myself, even if it's cancer,
Yeah.
they'll remove it. Okay, I'll start treatment and then I'll be good as new or whatever.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But I never got to the, okay, yeah, you're going to get treatment and you're going to be good as new.
Yeah.
No, in fact, the tumor is going to stay there for now. What do you mean? It was a lot of anxiety because I don't want this foreign body in me that's not
Uh-huh.
there and it's, growing and can we do something about this here? Like, please,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yesterday?
Yeah.
So it was so many different things that I had to process all at the same time.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It
That's a
was
lot.
So did I handle it well? No. It was ugly. It was really ugly. I sunk into a really deep, deep depression and yeah, it was a lot.
Through the ugliness, though, out the other side comes that acceptance that I don't think most of us, obviously cannot speak for everyone, but from what I hear from other people's experiences when it comes to chronic illness and it comes to these big diagnoses, it's not one thing that you hear one time and then suddenly you just accept that that's your reality. I think, like you said, a lot of times we go into this thinking like, okay, after this, then I'll XYZ, right? It's like we're living for these milestones. Okay, well, they'll just take the tumor out and then I'll be fine. Or they'll just start me on this treatment and then I'll be okay and everything will go back to normal and then I can do whatever it is. Yeah. And it just doesn't work that way. And I think that we face a lot of pressure too around receiving these diagnoses from the people in our life, always well-meaning, but there's a pressure for us to remain positive and to have a positive outlook and to be the container to say, no, I'm okay. I'm fine. I'll be fine. We'll get through this,
Oh, those expectations are always there. And I feel people mean well. And a lot of times I don't think people really know what to say because there's really no right thing to say.
Yeah.
And so I think because they want us to feel better, they don't want to see us suffering and so sick. They're like, but you gotta be positive, you're gonna get through this. You're gonna be okay. And yes, that may all be true, but right now you may not feel that way.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important for others to honor that. Like, those friends that are like, this sucks. And then that friend's like, yeah, it does.
Yes.
We kind of want that,
Yes,
Not the
exactly.
opposite. Yeah, you know what? This really does suck. You've got a raw deal,
Yes. Yes.
And that's okay because that is the truth. It's not a lie. That's the reality of it.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important to sit in it for a bit.
Yeah.
Sit in it.
Yep.
It's uncomfortable. It feels ick, yuck. But when you let yourself, sit in it, but not stay there. Sit,
Yes.
And you give yourself that permission to just feel all of it. There's a little bit of freedom that comes with that. And it doesn't change things.
No.
It doesn't. Doesn't change it at all. It's still the same situation. But what shifts is your perspective.
Yes. And so in that way, I think it does change things because it doesn't change our physical reality, but it changes how we look at things. It changes how we approach things. I know for myself, I was in that place for longer than I really realized, when the last several months, like going through all these tests and all these doctor's appointments and just coming to dead end to dead end to dead end to dead end to dead end, it just felt like I'm never going to get an answer. I'm stuck feeling this way. I don't want to take these medications that they're trying to tell me I need to take, but that aren't really going to make me feel better. And there was just a lot of fear and grief and frustration and anger. And I don't like feeling that way. I don't like sitting in that.
So when did things change or when did things shift for you? If you can go back and...
I don't know if I can pinpoint the exact moment, but I know thinking back, I remember sitting in it and feeling just so ick. And then I remember after my appointment with the gastro doctor, when he prescribed me that antidepressant for neuropathic pain.
Well, don't get me started on that conversation.
And then I started doing a bunch of research and full disclosure, talking to ChatGPT and asking like, what is this medication for? What does it do? How does it function in terms of, gastric pain? Why am I being prescribed this? And Chat giving me links to actual scientific research studies and things like that. It was in that moment that I actually felt something shift because I recognized that I needed more information about what I was going through in order to then process how to move forward. So I didn't necessarily get an answer as far as a diagnosis goes, but I had a better understanding of the whole picture of some of the things that I've been dealing with. And in that, for me, knowledge is power and knowledge is freedom. And I feel like that is kind of when my shift started to happen.
Almost as if maybe subconsciously a part of you maybe knew to a certain degree, and then another part of you was kind of fighting it.
Yes.
I feel maybe like this war between the two of you, even though there's just one of you,
Yes.
But I envision like, the good little...
The two parts of me, yes, absolutely.
And so I wonder if maybe at that point, the part that understood shifted and then kind of took over and said, hey, go away. We've got this.
Yes,
Let's
exactly.
figure it out. Let's now dive deep in and learn.
Yes.
Learn as much as I can, figure this out, look at it inside and out, and go from there.
Yes. And, it's something that I've done from the very beginning is doing a lot of research and trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And in that, there wasn't a lot of space in figuring out how to navigate my everyday life. My focus was on, okay, let me look at the health part of these things because I felt like in order to move forward, I don't really know what I'm dealing with. And so now I know what I'm not dealing with. And I think that's a reframe that you helped me with because there were so many times where I was like, well, didn't get any answers. And, hit another dead end. And you're like, well, you did get answers.
It's
just not
this.
the answers that you wanted.
No.
But the answer of, well, it isn't this thing, in a way, was an answer. I just didn't want to hear that at the time.
You know what? I don't think you were ready. And I wasn't going to press and push you because
No.
I knew that eventually you would get there on your
Yeah.
own. And
Yeah.
I felt like this was a journey that you needed
Yeah.
to figure out on your own. And
Yeah.
yes, I was, trying to do my very best to help and support and hold space for you as much as I could.
Yeah.
Only because I know and understand how distressful it is and disruptive, but I knew you'd figure it out. And
Well,
sure enough,
and
you did.
I did. I did. I'm figuring it out, but I think it goes back to what you were saying about having that friend that will sit in it with you and be like, yeah, this freaking sucks. And it's okay to just say, this sucks. And we don't always have to show up for the people in our lives with answers and neat little packages of like, here's the list of what you need to do to figure this out. Sometimes we just need someone to sit in it with us until we're ready to move forward, or until we've had that breakthrough, until we've come to that point of acceptance. And it's a gift that we all deserve, especially when living with chronic illness, I feel.
So true. So true. And I do feel that, family dynamics also get a little tricky when it comes to chronic illness. It's not just your own life it's disrupting. It's if you're a mom, if you're a wife, partner, you are all affected. The entire
Yes.
family is.
Yep.
And it's a challenge because it's a lot for them to also accept. And they
Yep.
also have to grieve.
Yep.
So it's very complex, so many moving pieces. But what I can say is that there will be some family members who will get it.
Yeah.
Not everyone, will say the
Yep.
wrong things. Some people will eventually get it.
Yeah.
And those are the ones you hold on to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And when it comes to chronic illness, it's not just family you lean on, community.
Yeah.
Community, community, community. There's something in sharing a diagnosis with someone, that Me Too moment. It's priceless. It's just priceless. And
Yep.
it's always going to come back to community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think that through community, those are, like you said, those are those Me Too moments where someone just sees you for what you're going through, and they're able to, I think they really are and become a part of that acceptance piece.
Yeah.
Because chronic illness can be so isolating. And it can be so lonely because there are so many days where, if you're dealing with things that are related to pain and chronic fatigue, that there are days where you're living on your heat pack and you're not going out and you're not doing the things that you're used to doing or doing the things that you want to do. And that's lonely, and it can be so isolating.
It can, because that's when, that friend asks you, hey, you want to come out? And you feel so crappy, and you have to say no. And then the no's become more frequent.
Yeah.
And then that starts to affect friendships. And then, sometimes those friends don't necessarily understand or care to understand what's going on. It's more of like, oh, I guess. And, there's now
and you
like a
stop
rift.
getting the
And you stop,
invites.
exactly. And then you stop getting those invites and you're like, okay, well, I guess,
Yep.
it was an inconvenience, or, something
Uh-huh.
like that. It just gets weird,
Yep.
and
Yep.
so
Instead of
chronic,
it being like, I get it, I understand that you can't, your body isn't going to allow you to show up, and just that being okay. And then,
yeah. And that being said, there's also friends who are the complete opposite,
Yeah.
They embrace you and they're like, all right, yep, but you got this. And,
Yeah.
they're there to hold your hand through all of it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. I think, it really boils down to, and we keep coming back to this word, but to gentleness, you know? I feel like there's so many ways that we can be gentle with ourselves, or we can be gentle with the people in our lives who are living with chronic illness. And I think one of the things that you mentioned in the last episode that we recorded was how you ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? And how can I honor my energy in this moment instead of fighting it? And I feel like that kind of gentleness goes so far because we're extending that to ourselves and we are giving ourselves permission to show up for ourselves and love ourselves and take care of ourselves in the way that we need to be cared for.
Yeah, because our body is doing the best that it can. Our body's going through it. And I think because we're already going through it so much physically, we really need to be gentle.
Yeah.
When you're self-critical, you're going to start spiraling and it's just going to make everything 10 million times worse. And we deserve the gentleness. We deserve the love because we're worth it.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
That whole self-love, that's a whole other episode. And that's a big part of it because at the moment when I got diagnosed, I didn't love myself.
Yeah.
And now I do.
Yeah.
And I think the love that I have for myself is what led me to what do I need right now? How do I feel right now? Because that question was non-existent when I got diagnosed.
No.
And now it's ever so present.
Yeah, as it should be. As it should be. What do you wish that someone would have told you earlier, or what do you wish you would have known about living with chronic illness back when you were first facing this diagnosis and you were in the thick of it?
Ooh. I wish I would have known that eventually I'd make peace with it. Just because it was so hard to accept.
Yeah.
I feel like I spent so much time, fighting it. And, I didn't really think it would ever end. And I think that added to the anxiety and it added to like the depression, all of it. I didn't necessarily have anyone that was dealing with chronic illness. And so I didn't really, I'm a nurse. So yes, I know what chronic illness looks like. But as a patient,
way different.
Like I've seen what it looks like. I've seen people go through it. But I didn't really, I had no idea what I was in for. And I wish I would have had someone to just kind of, hold my hand. Someone that had gone through something like this.
Yeah.
That's what I would have wished for.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen like that. But here we are.
Here we are. And you got to do that for me. So thank you.
And I think, we've definitely reconnected at the perfect moment because...
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It was, I think we didn't realize that we needed each other to navigate all of this craziness.
Yep. So true. So true.
And for that, I will be eternally grateful.
Same.
Because the moment, we reconnected, we've been inseparable since. And
yep. Absolutely.
I'm expecting it will stay that way.
Yeah, I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. Not at all. Till death do us part.
But I do want to circle back to you and how I've seen you navigate this chronic illness journey, even though you didn't know at the time it was chronic illness. And to say that I am extremely proud of you doesn't encapsulate how proud I am, because, wow, like you, my friend, have one thing after another, and you still show up. and you have not given up. You may be down, you may be like mad, upset, but you don't stay in it. You keep going.
Yeah.
And that, my friend, is commendable. And
Thank you.
And I know other people see it too. And the energy you show up with is, wow. It's
Thank
pretty
you.
amazing, friend.
Thank you. And I think it's interesting that you brought up the self-love, because I don't think that I would be handling it the way that I have had I not learned through my cancer diagnosis how to love myself and how to show up for myself. And I also don't think that I would be handling it the way I am if I didn't have you and if I didn't have our community, because that has been what has carried me through on the hardest, heaviest, darkest days. I know that even when I feel alone, I know that I'm not alone. And I know that I have so much support behind me. And I think that when it comes to our community and what we're doing here in this space, not just with the podcast, but with the nonprofit and the goals and the things that we want to accomplish, we want to show up for our community in the ways that we wish that we had folks show up for us when we were first diagnosed, when you were in the thick of it, when I was first diagnosed with cancer. Those are the times that people need that kind of support the most. And so if you're listening and you're realizing that what you're carrying is a lot and it may be more ongoing than you had anticipated it being, we just want you to know that you're not broken for struggling with that at all.
Yes, and you don't have to accept it all at once. You don't have to be positive about it all the time, and you don't have to have it all figured out.
That part, because living with chronic illness, whether it came after cancer or it has been a part of your life for a really long time, requires this kind of gentleness that most of us were never really taught.
And if all you're doing right now is learning how to just stay, how to listen, how to keep going, living in that body that changed the rules, all of that counts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're allowed to move slowly. You're allowed to take all of the time that you need to grieve. And at the end of the day, you are still more than your diagnosis, even when that diagnosis sticks around.
Thanks for joining us on More Than a Diagnosis. We hope today's conversation left you feeling seen, heard, and maybe even a little more connected.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need it.
And if you're looking for a place to connect with others who truly get it, join our support circle at morethanadiagnosis.org, where we will continue this conversation. It's free, it's welcoming, and it's built for you.
Because no one should have to navigate this alone.
Until next time,
keep living, keep growing, and remember,
you are more than a diagnosis.